Now that I've finished the History of Rome podcast, I'm going to start a new listening project. And the habit I've gotten into on this channel is making a short video to announce when I'm starting new reading or listening projects. So here's the video. Initially, the plan was to continue from the History of Rome podcast to Mike Duncan's other project, Revolutions. Revolutions is still not done yet. It's still ongoing as of this time. Mike Duncan is still creating new episodes, but the backlog is so great that there's more than enough to keep me occupied there for a long time. But I'm going to take a brief detour on this, and I want to do the King of Kings podcast by Dan Carlin. Now, Dan Carlin, if you're not familiar, runs a show called Hardcore History, which is a podcast where most of the episodes are actually behind a paywall. You have to pay to subscribe to it. For whatever reason, I'm not exactly clear on what the exact reason is, but some of those episodes are released free to the public. And King of Kings, about the Persian Empire, Sirius, I think, and Darius and Xerxes and those Persian emperors, which is a series of, I think, 3 episodes, but 3 very long episodes, like an hour each or something like that, was released to the public. This is another thing I heard about from word of mouth. I right when this first came out, I had a coworker who was telling me how fantastic it was. I'd never even heard of Dan Carlin at that time, but he got me hooked on it. He actually gave me an audio copy of something that's behind the paywall, which is I forget what the name of it is, but it's a story of the fall of the Roman Republic. Marius, Sulla, the Gracchi brothers, Julius Caesar, the fall of the Roman Republic. And it was excellent. It was like 7 hours long, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So I've always been meaning to do Dan Carlin's King of Kings podcast about the Persian emperors, and the clash between Persia and Greece is, I believe, what it's about. I dipped into it a little bit, and I got the impression it was mostly based on Herodotus's histories. Now, I could be wrong because I haven't listened to it yet, but that's the impression I got. I also get the impression, and I could be wrong about this as well, that what we know about those Persian emperors is largely based on Herodotus, even though he was a Greek historian. I think he documented it and the Persians didn't, or the Persian records didn't survive, or I don't know. You'll have to excuse my ignorance. These started videos, when I make a video when I'm starting something, I don't really know much about it yet. So I had thought for a long time, I had Herodotus sitting on my shelves for a long time. And I thought for a long time, when I finally get around to reading Herodotus, there are all these different videos on YouTube or all these different listening things that could easily make a great supplemental to it. So now that I'm actually reading Herodotus, working my way through it here, this is my bookmark for the text. This is my bookmark for the end notes. Now that I'm actually reading Herodotus and have just finished a history of Rome, before moving on to the Revolutions podcast, which is huge, just to the King of Kings podcast as maybe a quickie. We'll see whether this is a good idea or not. I think, in one sense, it could complement the Herodotus book quite well. Covers the same time period. I think Dan Carlin is largely drawing on Herodotus. On the other hand, they could spoil each other. Or maybe I'll get them both mixed up in my head because they're both covering similar content or something like that. I don't know. I'm still not exactly sure whether it's a good idea to do these together or whether they should be done like apart. Like first maybe finish Herodotus, then do the Dan Carlin podcast. Who knows? But I've decided this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do the Dan Carlin King of Kings podcast while reading the Herodotus book. So it's I think 3 episodes. They're all quite long episodes. Each one is over an hour. But after working through the History of Rome podcast, which was 73 hours, this should be nothing in comparison. I'm going to do what I always do, which is listen to it 4 times before coming back with a review. But then after listening to it 4 times, I will come back with my review. And then I'll post that on this channel whenever I get around to it.